Today I'm gonna work on this truck. It belongs to a friend of mine. He needs this for his daily driver. This is what he has. And boy, he needs some tires. These are old bias ply things. Look at that. Jeez. Anyways, so what was going on was he had an electrical problem where it wasn't charging. He put an alternator on it. Inadvertently he wired it incorrectly and it wasn't charging, and then the vehicle wouldn't shut off. So he brought it here, and I was looking at the wiring. I got that figured out, what was wrong, and in the midst of that I had taken the air cleaner off, and I was looking at the glow plug controller back here, because when you turn the key off you could still hear this glow plug controller clicking. You know, something was not right. And he said ever since we had that apart, it's had a hard time starting in the mornings, like the glow plugs aren't working. So we need to look at that. And then also when it does start, it hugs and chugs and carries on. He found that when he takes this primary filter off for the fuel, it'll be half full. So I believe that the fuel must be draining back, or either draining back from this point or draining from this point through the return side. This is a supply side. This hard plastic line comes from the tank up through here, gets filtered out the hose down to the fuel pump, from the fuel pump then up to the secondary filter over there, then to the injection pump. And these things are notorious for return lines leaking and letting the fuel run back. I can't pinch off the return lines because it's hard plastic. I would have to plug that off manually, like take it loose and put a plug in it. But I'm gonna spin this off and look and see if it's still got fuel in it, because I clamped this off yesterday after he dropped it off. So I want to see if my leak is from this point back or if it's from this point forward. And I also want to get a test light on here before we try and start it, and see if we're getting power to the glow plugs, what exactly is going on. So let me get set up. Well, it's not very good sounding because I pulled it off. I heard a suction, so that's not good. And as it came off, I heard it gurgle like fluid was moving, and I don't see any fluid at the top. Oh, it's down a little bit, but not horrible. You see it in there, down slightly. I'd like it to be full. There's a little control box underneath this, and I believe the way this works is it monitors amperage. Once it's pulling full amperage, then it kicks out. So I'm using two different lights, one white, one red, both incandescent. So polarity doesn't matter here. It's just a light bulb. Just needs a positive and a negative to heat up a filament and complete a circuit. That's all it's doing. So I've run the white one to the output circuit of the solenoid. I've tested the input. We know we have power on the wire coming in on the back side. So I've got my light on the output side, and we're going to see if it turns on. We'll also have a red light here on the control side. We have one on the positive and one on the ground. Now the way it's going to work is it's going to run until the amperage gets up, and then it's going to kick out. So what we want to do is when we turn the key on, we want to see both of these come on, because that'll tell us that our control circuit's working and our output circuit's working. If our control circuit isn't lighting up, then this won't light up. But if this lights up as a control saying it's being turned on but nothing's flowing, then this one won't be on. I hope that makes sense. So I'm just going to turn that on and test it real quick. Alright, so this is typical international. None of the gauges work either. He wants me to look at that. But so now remember, the red one is our control circuit and the clear one is our output. Key on. So it's the glow plug's turning on, but we have nothing coming out. So while that's doing that, let's check and make sure we got good connection. Let's see, there's our input, there's our output. We got nothing. Nothing coming out. And it's shut off because it's amped out or timed out, I guess, on the control box. So we have nothing. We have nothing coming out of that solenoid, but we do have control, and I did not hear it clunk. So what we're going to do is jumper that solenoid and see. Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We know that we're not getting anything past there. So before I do anything else, I should figure this out why it's not. We need to take these connections apart, see if they're burnt, see if we have a loose connection, any of that. So let's do that next. Well, I suppose that could be part of it. Let's see, the bottom side of this ring terminal was not in good shape. Yeah. Alright, we're going to clean that up. We're going to add a serrated washer underneath it because it's kind of big for this. It's kind of ate out, been loose for a while. You can see that's why it's missing all in pieces. That's why somebody put that solenoid on there and thought they fixed the problem, I think. Alright, let's get that cleaned up. Got it all cleaned up, put it back together. Serrated washer on the bottom and the top. I could change out that terminal, but I don't have one that large here, and I believe putting a serrated washer under the bottom will take care of the issue. And if it becomes an issue, I'll order the correct one. But for right now, we're going to see if that fixes the problem. I'm going to double check my wiring. My white ones are for the clear. And double check. I'm just going to touch it on the power coming in to make sure my ground is good, and it is. And we still have nothing coming out of that solenoid. So we may have a bad solenoid, so let's check it again. Key off, key on. So our control side's working, still no output. We should have heard it clunk. I don't think the solenoid's working. Connections on the solenoid for the control side seem to be okay, so we're gonna see if we can basically give it another ground and see if it reacts better, if it'll do anything. I've got the solenoid bypassed with a jumper. We'll see what it does now. Nothing. Now I got that jumper, that's sitting on the output, so it's saying that solenoid is sending power through. So that would tell me that the glow plugs are getting power now, because I have jumpered the control side of the solenoid and this is the output. So in theory, if it was glow plugs, it would fire. I don't see any smoke. Stacks, it's smoking. There she goes. Okay. So we got one problem. Well, we verified both problems. The glow plugs are not turning on their own, and we are losing fuel, because you can see the fuel coming out and it's blowing fuel, but we're not starting. When it does start, it started pretty smooth, so it tells me there's enough fuel in there, it just wasn't hot enough. So we got to get into this glow plug controller before we go any farther. So I'm taking the connections apart and making sure they're good and clean. So here's what I've found so far, is the fact that this is the ground for the solenoid that's controlled by the control box down here. So power comes in here. It sits at the bottom of the solenoid on a big heavy contact, waiting for a ground to act upon this. You put power on one side, ground on the other. It closes the contacts, lets current flow from this terminal to this terminal down here. It goes from this terminal down here to this terminal here. This post right here has the heavier wire, one on top, one on bottom of it. One goes to the driver's side bank of glow plugs, you'll see right here. The other one goes to the passenger side, which is right here. So this is like an amperage, I guess not an amperage, but a voltage flow or sensing wire to that box. And what it's doing is it's telling it that it has power on it, on that terminal inside that box, and it's controlling this side here. So what we have to do is, I'm going to take all this apart little by little. I've been taking the nuts off here and going to clean up and inspect all the terminals actually look pretty good. Like, not a very big deal. But in taking it apart, taking that apart, I find that the system ground for the box has this crimp connector here going over here. So we're gonna have to investigate that, because that goes on top of this, what appears to be a Bakelite box. So the ground is on top of that, which that's not where it should be. I would never put it there. So let's get that taken apart and inspect it. Alright, I think I was correct. I think this is an amp sensing wire, because they have a lead here and they have a lead under here. So it would monitor the amperage flowing across here. It could measure it. Yep, so, or the voltage. It could measure the voltage drop across there. Interesting. Anyways, I think we're just going to take this whole box out so that we have better access to this stuff and get it cleaned well. So I got the box out, and it looks like there's a lot going on here, but it's actually pretty simple. This box, is here designed to control this solenoid, this relay. It's a big relay, using smaller voltage to control larger voltage, right? So what we have is that module, in order to work, must have power and ground. We have to have a way to turn it on. So here's our ground. Can't see anything in here as far as a problem, but you know, this terminal did come over here to this Bakelite box, and you know, it's broken, and it was underneath that oily bolt. So we'll take care of this. We'll give it a better ground. So it has to have a ground, and it has to have a way to turn on. So there's a wire that comes from the ignition source that comes to the solenoid right here. So the ignition comes here. That, when you turn it on, turns on the box. And then the box, since it has power and ground, then has the ability to monitor the voltage across this terminal. So what they're doing is they will turn, when the ignition turns on, it turns on this box. The box then grounds this side of the solenoid internally, utilizing this ground, and when it's turned on, it sends a signal here to turn the dash light on for glow plugs. Okay, so you have that going on, and then while it's turned on, you have a wire here and here, and these are load sensing. So it's monitoring the amount of amperage, amount of voltage that is flowing through this little coil spring deal here, and the two leads of the glow plugs are here. So once it sees that that's satisfactory and it's at its highest point of draw, it shuts it off. So we have to figure out if the box is just not doing what it's supposed to do, or do we have a bad ground. But I think what we're going to do is fix this first, and we'll clean up every connection on here and go from there. That's all cleaned up and soldered in. I don't know where I'm going to run that ground to yet, so I'm just going to leave it long. I'm just going to scale it back, skin it back just a little bit, strip it, and put a jumper lead on it, just so we can know we have a good ground, and then see what our operation is then. It's never a good sign when you see that bulged up like that and it's been hot. I am back together, just temporary, and I've got my ground on a jumper lead here to a known good ground. So now we're gonna see, I have a test light on here on the output. So now we'll see if we have the solenoid clicking and the light lighting up, which will tell us we actually have electricity. So I've got everything together and I've tested, and it is actually coming on. There's just no draw. It's just not pulling anything. So I pulled off, you know, these harnesses are in horrible shape as they always are. I pulled one off and I used a test light on here just to make sure we didn't have a break in the wire, and we're getting power here. It's just, they're just not heating up. So the next step I have to do is I'm going to put an amp meter on here and see how many amps each side is pulling, because it comes off of a number 10 wire right here off the back of that controller solenoid. And you figure if it's a 10 wire and they're down to probably, that sure looks like about 12 or 14 wires. So these got to be pulling probably at least 5 amps a piece. That's 32 amps a side about, and that's 10 wire. So we could be there, something like that. So I need to see what the amperage draw is, because it's just not doing anything. They're just not heating up, it seems like. The electrically, the controller is actually working. The wait to start light comes on now. We have power on each side coming through. Made it through down here to our post. This is where the glow plugs come off. And we have good power there. So now and that was with an actual 1157 bulb, so we know we have a good load. So, and that's what I did here. I'm going to measure it and see what it's got, but it looks like we're going to throw some glow plugs in it before we go any farther, because we know the solenoid's working correctly, because we're getting current. We're actually getting voltage across. There's just no current, meaning it means that it's open, it's closing, and it's allowing electric to go from here to here. The problem is there's nothing there to pull the electric in and make it come across. There's nothing utilizing the electric, and I considered it could be a bad ground, you know, on the engine. But if that was the case, then our solenoid for a fuel turn on wouldn't work, our alternator wouldn't charge, and I'm running an external ground off the alternator, so I think we're grounded okay. But just to be safe, I ran another jumper wire from the block to the battery just to make sure it wasn't a problem like that, where we had enough power to run that stuff, but when you try to put this on, we weren't having enough ground to carry the load. So I just thought it was worth a shot. So I have this set on milliamps DC, and this is my battery terminal here. So I have constant 12 volts to it, and I've got it right on the glow plug itself down here. So what it's doing is it's sending power from the alternator through my meter, and my meter is measuring the amperage going to this. And this is why we have no load. I'm on 1 milliamp right there, so it's safe. I'm at 10 amp fused. I can go to milliamps now. If you look here, now I'm on a different fuse. I got 1.28 milliamps. And that's it. That's all that's pulling. It's no wonder the glow plugs aren't working. So weird. He says they were working before, so I'm not exactly sure what's going on, but we're gonna check each one. You can see we're at 0 there. And we'll start at 10 amps to begin with, and then we'll work our way down to work our way down to milliamps. So we got 1.29. We'll record that and go on. So this one has nothing. It's open. It's not even working. There's nothing here. I wonder if he used starting fluid on this thing and burnt the ends of the glow plugs off by chance, if that could have happened. I'm gonna pull one out. Let's get a look. I've got direct power to it. I got nothing. They're open. I mean, I'm coming right off my alternator charge line, which has power on it. I've tested it against ground, and I got nothing. I mean, I could touch that. I've been on here for probably 30 seconds anyways. Just to confirm, they're open. I just took my ohm meter. It's so hard to do with one hand, isn't it? But I can confirm. Put them two together. Yeah, 0.3 ohms of resistance across my cables here. I could zero that. And then measure this again. Across the electrode to the ground, and open. Let's go to the heating element. Open. So, guess I don't need to go any farther. I got 2 on one bank that are completely open. I don't know if I've ever seen these before, auto lights. Every single one of these glow plugs is open. I mean, they are completely 100% open. Not shorted to ground, but apparently burnt out internally. And just to test my meter, this is a 75 ohm resistor, as you can tell by the denotations of stripes, and we're at 74.5 ohms. So I'd say we're on, but I can't believe all of them are bad. And it's weird because some are one brand and some are another. Like somebody gave up and only doing some of them. And 2 of them, you can see how swelled the electrode is on that one, and this one here. They're really difficult to get out. I had to put blaster down the hole and kind of work it back and forth and just yank on it with a pair of vice grips to get it out. It just didn't want to come. So I'm going to order up 8 new glow plugs, and I don't know, I'm going to look into the controller just to be safe, because he's going on a trip. He's going to drive this thing through the winter, so I'm not convinced that that controller isn't having an intermittent issue as well, so I'm going to look into that. But seeing how I'm going to be ordering parts, I'm going to go ahead and work on the next problem, which is the headlights. This headlight or turn signal, I don't remember if it's a headlight on this side or turn signals or whatever. Something goofy going on and something goofy on the tail lights, so we got to look at that too. Next thing I'm working on is turn signals, and they kind of have a mind of their own. This is the one he was talking about had a problem. So the terminals inside here are cooked. The guy, he had it painted, and they left the bulbs in. They put masking tape all over them, and it just burnt the masking tape. I chipped a bunch of it off just to make sure it was actually working, but it had gotten so hot, and I don't know if that's from the masking tape or just years of use, but I'd have to tell you it was both. And the terminal was loose in there and it got hot, so I'm probably gonna have to do something with that. But I don't have 4-ways coming out of the turn signal. I've got all the lights working now, but I have no turn signals coming out of the front. And I've got the turn signal, the cover to the steering column off to get access to the pigtail for the turn signal, and I'm finding that the turn signal switch itself is just bad. It just, if you have 4-ways on and you cancel the 4-ways, now that side won't work, and then if you go to the other side, it won't work. So it's just been one thing after another. So I just went ahead and took the cover off down here and was back probing and realized that it's actually a problem with the switch itself. So I got the switch out, and I've got another one on order and getting it from AMI. They can get a lot of this stuff for these old S-Series trucks. I'll leave a link to their phone number. If you got an international you need parts for, you give Alan a call. He can set you up with what you need. And the horn button, the pad, is broken. You can see here this is broken, busted off here, and this one's broke. So I got to see if I can find another one of these. I don't know if there's available. I don't know what to see. If not, I'll have to glue something together. So the next thing is the instrument cluster doesn't work. You can turn the key on and it'll barely move. Like the instrument lights are something separate from the circuit board of the actual instrument cluster. So we're going to take it apart and see if we can see if it's a common problem like most of the others. I've never had one of these ones apart before, but you just take the trim off, which is just right here. It's just a bunch of screws across the top, which you know, they don't screw into anything because it's all busted up. And then take that off, and then 4 screws out of the face of it, and this one pops out, so it's not really a big deal. And then you can fish through this side. So you just got 3 connectors back here, so we'll get them off. And I gotta get the oil line off. I hate that. Get this disconnected and get it out of here and get it on the bench and look at it. I've gone through the pinout on all 3 connectors here, and I have found that all the powers and grounds are where they're supposed to be, and the terminals actually look okay. So it leads me to believe that the problem is inside this cluster. And I took it apart and got a look at it, and I don't see anything simple for me to fix. So I called a place that AMI recommended, and it's between $700 and $800 to get that cluster repaired. And he doesn't want to do that, so he said screw it, he'll just put in a GPS and not monitor anything and see if he can see these gauges down here. So my parts are coming in. I ordered up all new glow plugs. I use Motorcraft or International, whichever, and I ordered up a new glow plug controller just because I don't want to trust that other one, because this is a daily driver for winter time. And then I ordered some new headlights because we're going to take out these old incandescents. Not only are they dim, but this has a, like somebody painted something on it, like a film right here. You see it coming off, and it makes it really dim. So we're going to replace these. Are these even halogen? Yeah, they are. Anyways, we're going to replace them with these LED headlights. That's a lot of LEDs. Hopefully they're good and bright. And it's got a heat sink on the back to dissipate heat. So that'll help with a lot of our amperage draw. Comes with these adapters, I guess, in case you're wired differently. So we'll get them in and get the controller in. That's what we're going to do first. So just for demonstration purposes, when I showed you before that the glow plugs wouldn't do anything, there was no spark, this is what it should look like. And I'm using way too small wires here, so I can only do it for a limited amount of time. These will heat up and burn out, but watch the spark. Alright, that's a load. Now look, immediately it's getting hot. I can feel it. It's getting hot. It's starting to glow red. You see it happening already? That's what should have happened. I don't want to get too hot because I'll just ruin that alligator clip there. But that's what every one of them should have done. So now we're going to go ahead and put them all in. So we're going to put a little never sees on all the threads because these glow plugs are down in the valley here. And it's not uncommon for water to get down in there and make its way through the threads. So if you've ever had to take these out before, if you ever broke one of these heads off, because you see it's kind of a reduced shank there where the threads start, you know what a pickle this can really be. So I always use never sees. I don't use high temp because this motor will never get over 260 unless it has a catastrophic failure, and this is more than adequate. So we got the controller replaced, and I started thinking about this, and back when he first brought this truck here, he was having troubles with the alternator. The alternator wasn't charging, so he went to Napa, he got another alternator, and the alternator he got he couldn't get it to charge. So he took it back, and then he got this one, which was not the right alternator. He had to get this bracket and the bottom bracket off another truck to get it on here. So then what he had done is the original one was an old Delphi with a 2-post like this, with the one wire was the exciter, so the ignition would turn it on, and that's what would make it excite and start the charge. The problem was when he put this alternator on, it had a shunt across here. This wasn't necessary. This is a self-exciting alternator. So I took it apart, found the problem with the wiring, and then fixed it, and then it charges fine. God, that boot is horrible. Look at that. But in the meantime, God, look what he did there. Jeez, rounding off that bolt. That's awful. In the meantime, what it had done is when he put this on and he took that shunt out of there and plugged this in, it backfed to the system, and you couldn't shut the truck off. The truck would stay running. He'd have to disconnect the batteries. Well, as soon as he hooked the batteries back up, he didn't realize, but everything was lit back up again. The whole entire ignition system was like it was turned on. So when he came here with this problem, it was running, and that control, that solenoid was going click, 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 constantly. And I started looking into it, and obviously we found a problem, but I'm wondering if that is what burnt out these glow plugs with that thing staying on, because every time you would stop power from it and bring it back, it would start again. So it never actually got the time out or get the full amperage. I don't know, something weird really happened, but I was trying to figure out why every single one of these would be burnt out and not do anything. And I was thinking about it, it reminded me of this whole alternator debacle. And this wasn't the right alternator for the truck. The first one probably worked right, it just probably wasn't hooked up correctly. But anyways, I've got all those in, and we're just about ready to start it. I've got one of the ends I need to replace here, where it goes in the glow plug. These things are in such bad shape, they get hot, and then the insulation just falls apart. And this one was just, I went to take it apart and it just broke. So I got to get that fixed. I'll probably have to find or make a new harness for these glow plugs eventually, but not for now. Now I just need to fix this so we can get it started, see if it fixes the problem. I can't see how it wouldn't, but let's give it a shot. Still waiting on the headlight switch and the turn signals. Light start light comes on. That's a good sign. Staying on for a long time too. That's great. Oh, look at that. It's like it was meant to. Just 4 little screws. Not that one, that's the adjuster. This one, that one and that one. It takes out that metal ring. That's what holds the light in. So it's pretty simple. Unplug one, plug another one in. If you're doing international, these are made left and right. If you notice, there's a notch cut right there. That is so you can get to the adjuster screw right there. If you can see it, whatever. It's in there. And that's what it's there for. And you get to the adjusting screw over here. Yeah, that'll work. It's only like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, man. That's plenty bright. That's better than we had, that's for sure. I'll put a link in the description for these headlights if you guys want them. I think they'll work pretty good. They have a heat sink on the back, so they must actually generate some heat. So keeping the snow and the ice off them shouldn't really be a problem, I wouldn't think. But we'll know when the winter time comes, that's for sure. See how good they are at night too. See what kind of cobbled up mess this is. Take a stack, it's almost 6 feet in the air, and you got it bolted to nothing but sheet metal. And look at that crap down there. I don't even think it's held to anything. No, I don't even want to mess with this. He really wants me to, and I really don't want to, because I'm gonna have to cut all this bed liner out. It's better just to take the bed liner out. I was looking underneath and the bed doesn't look bad. It doesn't look like it's rotted through or anything. You can do a spray liner after the fact. So our new turn signal switch just arrived. There was a problem with the supplier. We tried to get it and there was, I don't know, some miscommunication with the supplier from who we buy from. And anyways, we had to get an outside source. That sucks. I like to spend money with the people that I like, which is the guys at AMI. They treat us well. They're very good at what they do. They just had a problem with their suppliers where the issue was. But anyways, we got it. So let's get it bolted in. Just real simple. Just 2 screws, one here, and plug it in. All right. Check the 4 ways first. And working there. Front's working. That's a good sign. Now we'll just check the turn signals. Okay, that works. The other way, just to be thorough. Yep. Everything works like it should. There you go. He just had this truck painted, and the body shop had the doors off. Look at this. Look how bad that is. Such a horrible job. Paint's coming off. Huge runs. What a mess. Anyways, let's bolt this cover back in and we're done. Well, since we're not messing with the stacks, I guess we're done with this. Let's see how it's going to start today. It's pretty cold. Compared to what it's been, I think it's down in the 40s. Not quite cold enough to freeze water, but I'll take that as a success. So much better than what it was. So, I guess we're done with this truck. Got much for power steering, that's for sure. feels pretty stiff. Might get better as it warms up. Oh yeah, it's getting better. Alright, so we're going to set this off to the side. He can come and get it. We can get on to our regularly scheduled truck work that we need to get done. So I hope everybody enjoyed. Thanks for watching. And catch you on the next one. Getting kind of tight around here. Be careful, don't back into something. Oh yeah, so this truck's for sale. So good thing about it is this is 100% rust-free cab and a crew cab. It's in really good shape under here. Frame is really nice. Not a big fan of the DIDNT hubs. Not a big fan of the IDI 7.3 or the Allison AT545 transmission, but you know, it's an interesting truck. Anybody wants it, get in touch with me on Instagram. I'll set you in touch with him. I think he wants $29,000 for it. Thanks for watching, guys.